with confidence. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about this block right here. This is the Dogwood Blossoms block. If you've been around String and Story recently, you know we've just essentially finished a quilt along of this pattern. But before we officially wrap our quilt along, I just couldn't get away from wanting to dive in deeper together on how to quilt this. So y'all know I had published a blog last fall that gave a couple of ideas. We talked about it briefly during social hour on Saturday night, but just the more I thought about it, the more I felt like there was more to say. And I realized that I've actually quilted several different versions of Dogwood Blossoms and used different plans on each of them. And I wanted to share that with you. So that's what we're doing here today. Let me jump over to Facebook real quick and make sure this is showing up live the way that it should be. Y'all, this new Facebook platform is not my friend, for what that's worth. I'm struggling with it. All right, I see me. This is a good sign. I see some of you. Say hi in the comments if you are here with me live. I would be absolutely delighted to greet you. And I'm also going to hit share real quick on this so that I can get it over into the Quilting Rockstars so everyone else can come join us. All right, here we go. Oh, I can't do that from here right now. Okay, let me get this up on my phone. All right, and I'll be able to see your comments that way as well. That's not the right profile. Technology, guys. Technology is not my friend. That's not true. Technology is 100% my friend. I am struggling with it at this moment. Joyce, you're here. I'm so delighted. Welcome, welcome. Y'all, it has been a phenomenal Tuesday morning. Yesterday was one of those days, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, where it just feels like you're spinning your wheels. All right, this is not, here we go. Where you just feel like you're spinning your wheels, and it feels like nothing's getting done. And today has been the exact opposite. And I'm so pumped to be here with you guys because I'm just having such a fabulous day, and it's even better because we are sharing it. All right, I'm about to hit share on this, and then we are going to dive in. And now I can see your comments. Blessed be. Blessed be. Who is here with me? Joyce, Rhoda, Marie, Sue, Melissa, Patricia, Francie, Joe. Good morning, my dears. Helen, I'm so glad you're here. All right, now, without further ado, I got it right on the first try. Let's jump into quilting plans for Dogwood Blossoms. Now, guys, as you know, we are wrapping up the quilt along that we have been doing. We have pieced this top together. Mine is actually right here, kind of partially webbed, and I'm excited to get it together. But the more I thought about the conversation that we had on Saturday night about how to quilt this, the more I felt like there was more to say, right? And so I took some time this week, and I have added to the blog post that I originally shared with you guys on Saturday night. You're going to find a link to that blog post in the caption of this video. You will also find a link over to my shop if you do not yet have the Dogwood Blossoms quilt pattern and you realize you would like to make one. It is a fabulous, fun quilt. So in this mini workshop, we're going to take a look at the modern traditional Dogwood Blossoms quilt and discuss how to make this relatively simple quilt shine. All right. Dogwood Blossoms is a bold, modern, traditional quilting design and is easily my go-to when I want to quit a quilt to work up quickly. I have a typo. I'm so sorry. Or to show off some fun fat quarters. So each block on this, if you're making the full size block, takes 2 fat quarters. You need a foreground for the flower, and you need a background, okay? I also love that it's perfect for combining free motion quilting with walking foot quilting or ruler work quilting, which creates a really cool effect. And because these are nice big spaces, it makes it fairly easy to get some good kind of beginner level ruler work practice. They're big enough spaces that you're not doing anything too fiddly, but they're small enough that you're not kind of off in the nether world trying to quilt something with a ruler without having kind of seam lines to guide you, right? Good morning, Bev. That is totally okay that you still have to finish your block. I'm so glad you guys are here. So you can get this pattern, as I mentioned, at stringandstory.com/shop if you do not yet have it. During the course of our time together this morning, you're actually going to see 4 different versions of this quilt, 2 actually throw quilts, a table runner, and then one that's a single block that'll probably end up being a table topper. This one that's here in front of me is my like summery watermelon Dogwood Blossoms quilt top. Actually is not featured in this slideshow, but There will be pictures going up as soon as I get this top together. Don't you worry. Pro tip, by the way, all of my patterns include a coloring sheet. This is great for trying out quilting ideas. So the same outline that you use to color in to decide what fabrics you're going to use, you can then print another one and use that to decide how you want to quilt it, okay? It makes it just real easy to audition ideas without having to go track down graph paper and try to draw things to scale and all of that, all right? Now, if you've pieced Dogwood Blossoms or a similar modern quilt, there's a number of different flower patterns out there that feature this kind of large blossom design. You're in the right place because we're gonna get some ideas flowing for you about how to quilt this and turn your lovely top into a nice summery quilt or wintry quilt or Christmassy quilt or whatever theme you chose for yours, right? All right, so first up, of course, we have the all over design. Now, I, in fact, have quilted a Dogwood Blossoms with an all over design. I remembered that this morning and made sure that I got a picture for you guys. This is a table runner that I did about 1.5 years ago with some Allison glass fabric. And just did some simple straight and wavy line quilting on it. So every quilt can, of course, be quilted with an all over design. And while I personally tend towards more complicated opportunities, I think there's a couple of designs that would look really lovely on these big old flower blocks. I do like how this straight line quilting turned out, but as you can see here, I've got a few other ideas as well. I particularly think that a diagonal grid would look really, really cool, just for what that's worth. But you could do walking foot lines, straight or wavy. You could do a walking foot grid, straight or on the diagonal. A decorative pantograph, you know, those lovely pantographs that have like kind of daisies in them would be fun, or a free motion quilting meander or loopy meander. And what I like about these ideas is they emphasize, hey, Laura, they emphasize the fact that this is a very modern design, right? If you make the original block on this, it's an 18-inch block. It is a doozy. Right? These are big old blocks. And I like that about this pattern because it means it can come together very quickly. It can be a great stash buster, that fat quarter bundle that you've been wondering what to do with. You pair that with a nice solid background and it's just going to shine, right? But if you're like me and you tend to prefer a more complicated quilting plan, then that really slows down the process if you're trying to make this as a quick tabletop or a quick table runner, a quick gift, a quick something for the couch, right? As a sidebar, speaking of things for the couch, I think this pattern would be fabulous as a Christmas quilt with like red flowers and like a green and white background to look like poinsettias. I haven't done it yet. I would love to see someone do it. I would love to do it for that matter, but I would have to go get some red fabric because I don't keep a lot of red fabric on hand. But just an idea. So the thing that's great about these all over designs is they will work up quickly, just the way that the top worked up quickly. And you truly could put together a throw quilt. You can get a modest throw quilt with just 9 of these blocks and get that thing together in a weekend, which is awesome, right? Now, of course, my general inclination is towards a much more custom plan. Though I admit I'm seriously considering doing something that blends these two ideas on this quilt here. But I tend to do a much more custom plan. And so I've done a few that I'd like to share with you, especially because I know there are many of you who are here that have either taken Free Motion Quilting Academy or who are wrapping up your time in Free Motion Quilting Academy. This is a great opportunity to practice. I love practicing on quilts that look really cool, but don't necessarily take a ton of time to piece. I think it takes some of the pressure off. But also, if you have taken Free Motion Quilting Academy or feel confident enough in your free motion quilting that you've been working on some ruler work quilting, this is a really cool chance to practice. Hello, my dear Kate and Sandy. Huzzah! You have an entire bolt of what, Sandy? I totally missed it. I must have referenced the fabric, but let me know. Okay. Oh, red? You have a whole bolt of red. That's probably what you were saying. Splendid. I will let you know on that. I have a few projects I have to finish first. So I love the way with Dogwood Blossoms, there's an obvious background and an obvious foreground on this quilt. Even with the first one that I made prints on prints, right? There's not a lot of tone contrast. These are the kind of pastel-y, muted kind of colors. but and there's, you know, lots and lots of prints, and yet being able to use that warm and cool, plus the fact that it's really big piecing, allows for that foreground and background to really shine, okay? So it means that you can get a lot going on without distracting from those piece flowers. So I've chosen to use ruler work on a number of these quilts to add some details to the flower, and then gone a little bit hog wild in the background, okay? Kathleen, it's so good to see you. Now, this block can be entirely quilted with ruler work as well. So you can see here between these two, I did the same thing on the foreground. So the center of the flower, which is done with background fabric, that's optional. You could add a third fabric there if you want. You could switch it up a little bit. Oh, I just remembered that I actually have one more Dogwood Blossoms block that didn't make it in this slideshow. I might have to get a picture for you guys. You could make that a third fabric if you want. I treat it as part of the flower, even though it's background fabric. So you can see on both of these that I'm showing you right now, I've got that curved grid in the center, and I've done large continuous curved flowers in the petals, okay? And that allows the foreground to have this very geometric feel. It's less densely quilted. It comes forward a little bit, okay? But in the background here on this blue block is a lot of graffiti quilting, feathers, all sorts of crazy stuff, okay? Now this one, I did the exact same quilting plan for the flower part, but I used a ruler guided switchback for the background, and it gives a totally different effect. Notice even on one side, I did 1/4 inch switchbacks, and on the other side, I did 1/2 inch switchbacks, just to show the contrast of how that texture. Personally, I really like those 1/4 inch switchbacks. I think it makes a really cool matchstick effect, and it really emphasizes how modern this quilt is. You get to keep that very modern feel by having a real, like at the same time as having a really cool opportunity to practice your ruler work skills, okay? So personally, my favorite way is to quilt the flower with a grid and then do the continuous curves. And then I love the free motion quilting practice that can happen in the background, okay? Now, do note that both the continuous curves and the grid could be done with a walking foot. So if you're like, HollyAnne, I don't know that my machine is like ready, like I don't have a ruler foot or I don't have a ruler, I just don't know if I'm ready, you absolutely can get yourself a pencil or a hair marker, mark out this grid, mark out these petals, even just freehand it, but to give yourself something to kind of stitch on. And then you'll have a little bit more turning of your quilt to do, but you can totally do this with a walking foot. Okay, and same thing with those switchbacks I was showing you. So you could get a really cool modern effect either by using a ruler or by doing a walking foot. And then in the case of this quilt here, this was the first throw quilt that I quilted for Dogwood Blossoms. I just graffiti quilted the background, and I literally just made it up block to block. You're going to see some nautilus shells, you're going to see some feathers, you're going to see paisley swirls, all sorts of things. Because honestly, with all those prints going on, I was like, we're just going to have fun with texture, okay? Now here you can just see a close-up of a couple of the things that I chose to do in the background on this. Those two outside photos are the orange quilt that I showed you at the top. And then of course it's that more muted colorway in the center with a big old feather and then some pebbles, okay? Okay, I've flown through all over designs, very modern ruler work or walking foot quilting designs. And we've also talked about how you could use this as phenomenal free motion quilting practice. This is a quilt that's a great stash buster, and it's a great gift. It's just a lot of fun to make, right? But first, give me a heart if you are excited to either continue piecing your Dogwood Blossoms quilt or get quilting on it. And then 2 more things. If you have questions, please drop those in the comments. If you've already finished your Dogwood Blossoms top, or even you're just thinking ahead to how you're planning to quilt it, I would love to hear those things. So what do you have planned for your quilt? And I'm actually going to pop over here, and I am going to pull this back down because I just want to chat with you guys and hear about what you have planned. So personally, for the one that I'm working on right now, so I've got these 2 pinks, and then there's 2 greens that are in it as well. There's a lighter green and a darker green. So it's very watermelon colors. And I'm wanting a very modern feel on this quilt. It's a very light and airy quilt, and so I'm hoping to keep that feel. But I want to incorporate free motion quilting with it. So I'm currently considering straight line quilting, kind of at different increments. So having some lines that are a little further apart and some that are closer together. And then in the sections that are a little bit wider, doing some free motion quilting motifs. So having some ribbon candy, some switchbacks, some wishbones, just things that are fun, like skinny border motifs, and using those to kind of fill in that'll travel down the quilt, kind of like ribbons. And I think that will be a fun middle ground of something that is a little bit more modern and a little less dense than quilting plans I've done in the past, but still allows me to incorporate free motion quilting into what I'm doing. Sue, I wondered if you would say something like that. But Sue, I just kept thinking about your runner, and so Sue had asked me, guys, last week for some ideas, and that's why we talked about it during social hour. But just, Sue, after we talked during social hour, then my ideas were flowing, and I was like, I have more to say on this. Like, we're going to have a whole other talk. And I realized that there were a number of variations of Dogwood Blossoms that I had made that I had not put on the blog. And there's one hanging. Is it on my front door? I was thinking it was on my front door, but that may not be true. It might be in this closet. Let me see if I can get it to show you guys right here while we're live. Okay. No, it is on my front door. You know, nothing like live video to get something spontaneous, like jumping up and digging through a closet. So it's still on my front door. So I'll have to get a picture of that one too, because I've really made a number of different variations of this because it's a really fun, versatile quilt. And I like it a lot. Let's see. Dawn says she has to sew together her 9 blocks and then the top is finished, trying to make a unique back using fabric from the flowers. I love that. I love having a really interesting back. I almost never do it because it takes time. And usually by the time I get my top together, I'm ready to just get that thing quilted and get to snuggle under it. Idea of a noddles in the background. It's a fun one. And you literally could do that in like every single one. And they would, it would end up it would be very fun to do kind of an oceany or a beachy quilt doing that, because they would feel a little bit more like either big hibiscus flowers, which are very, beachy feeling, or like starfish almost, which obviously it's not a full star because there's only 4, but you get my drift. Lots of fun things. Ruth, I'm so glad you're here. Guys, thank you so much for joining me this morning for our quick fly through of many, many more Dogwood Blossoms ideas. I already have more ideas flowing. I actually am working with a guild in the month of May, hosting a quilt along of the Dogwood Blossoms quilt for a guild in Texas. So I'm already thinking through more fabric choices and all sorts of things. And it's a fun and exciting quilt. Speaking of, I did not include this. Oh, Marie, I can only walk in there because I cleaned it out last month. So that's a recent thing. Speaking of, I did not include this in the links in the caption of this video, but I am offering virtual lectures, virtual quilt-alongs, and virtual workshops for guilds and other quilting groups. So if your guild or group is experiencing closures because of COVID, I would be thrilled to create some online programming for you and spend some time together discussing quilting, actually quilting, teaching you a new skill, any and all of the above. So if you simply go to stringandstory.com, you'll find some links to that. Now, as a reminder, in the caption of this video, you will find a link to the blog post about how to quilt Dogwood Blossoms that has even more photos than what I showed you in our slideshow. You'll also find a link over to my shop if you do not yet have the Dogwood Blossoms pattern. I would be completely delighted to see your work. And then finally, if you could simply go to stringandstory.com, you'll find information about virtual guild programming. Let's see. Cindy is still working on masks. I love it. So do something nice and feminine, maybe just some easy paisleys. Swirls would be a great background. I love those ideas, Cindy. So guys, don't forget that Saturday during social hour over in the Quilting Rockstars Facebook group is going to be bingo. So watch the group this week. I will be getting information out to you guys. Have an absolutely fabulous Tuesday. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day. And I know that my day is going to be better because we spent time together. So thank you for joining me. Happy quilting today. And I will see you for bingo on Saturday night. Bye, y'all.